This was the moment when 25-year-old Mohammed Sayadi was reunited with his family at a Kentucky airport. The young Syrian refugee hadn't seen his parents and sisters in nearly 3 years. Just 1 month earlier, it wasn't certain they'd be able to join him. After passing a lengthy screening test in Jordan and told they had visas and flights, the family, like many others, was suddenly informed, no go. This after the new U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order suspending America's refugee resettlement program. Mohammed was devastated. He had this message for the president.
I hope and I pray every day to make you same feeling you make me and make whole Syrian people, my family, they ready to move.
Trump didn't change his mind. He insisted the ban was necessary to keep America safe. But following a wave of protests across the country, a U.S. federal judge issued an injunction against the president's executive order, creating a window for families like the Sayadis to come.
Thanks for America.
But in March, Trump signed a new executive order, or more accurately, a tweaked version of his first one. Iraq was removed from the list of banned countries after pressure from Baghdad. But 6 other Muslim-majority countries were still included. There were renewed protests, and hours before the revised order was to go into effect, it too was blocked by a federal judge. Trump called it judicial overreach, and at a rally vowed to take his case to the Supreme Court.
I will not stop fighting for the safety of you and your families, believe me. Not today, not ever. We're going to win it. We're going to win it.
The Sayadi family wants to put the ordeal behind them. Right now, they're focused on adjusting to life in their new home. Many Muslims in America say they fear leaving the country, uncertain they'll be let back in. Others say the executive orders reinforced their feeling like second-class citizens. With more than 1,300 days still left in this administration, that's a feeling they say that's unlikely to go away anytime soon. Roee, Ruttenberg, CGTN in Washington.
Right then, let's revisit a story covered a little earlier, effectively grading the 45th President of the United States and all the policy promises he made, and there were several of them, in his first 100 days in office. Has he succeeded hugely or has he failed bigly? Let's find out. Daniel Rangers joins me now live from Washington, D.C. Daniel, just hours ago, first quarter GDP data for the U.S. coming out, 0.7% annualized growth. That's the lowest we've seen since 2014. How much of that is directly attributable to the policies and the fights coming out of the White House?
Well, what we've seen with this new data is that consumers haven't been digging into their pockets enough, and consumer sectors is a huge part of the US economy. On top of that, businesses have been not stocking up that much on their business inventories. But here's where the rub is. If President Trump and Congress can get a package of tax cuts together, as well as possibly an infrastructure spending package, businesses will have more cash in their pockets to invest, and they will be more confident, and I think that will drive the US economy home for the rest of this year. But if we see continued dysfunction on Capitol Hill, then I think the US economy is likely to go in reverse direction.
Indeed, 99 days into his presidency, Mr. Trump has still not delivered on a lot of his key promises. Tax reform, still a work in progress. Healthcare, he's had quite a public humiliation on that. He's faced setback after setback in the courts when it comes to immigration. So what's the overall assessment on the Hill and elsewhere on his performance to date?
Well, it has been quite a ride, and before he was brought into office, a lot of people were saying, don't take him literally. Then he came into office and everyone said, he's doing what he said he would do. That lasted maybe about a month or so. That we saw chaotic dysfunction within the White House. That strategy was abandoned. He went back to a sort of form of pragmatism. And again, we went back to this notion of he's not going to do what he said he's going to do, but he's going to take decisions based on pragmatism, a non-ideological position. And that's where we are now. We've had a lot of dysfunction, but now Donald Trump is starting to get a team behind him that can operate.
Indeed. Earlier today, Mr. Trump also saying, quote, if there is a shutdown, then there is a shutdown, end of quote. And then he proceeded after that to argue that Democrats would be responsible if that does happen. What sort of last-minute deal, however, has been arrived at in Congress? Or is the environment on the Hill simply just too toxic for any long-term deal?
Well, we've got an extension of a week so that we won't have a shutdown. They are still trying to get some of the lawmakers on board with the healthcare plan. That is a difficult ask, but it's possible. The bottom line here is that the Republicans, who have the majority in both houses, have a symbiotic relationship, whether they want it or not, with Donald Trump. That is not going to go away. And Donald Trump, unlike President Obama, is showing signs that he's willing to roll up his sleeves and get involved in the nitty-gritty of negotiations. Remember, Barack Obama was sort of wanted to keep his hands clean, didn't want to engage with these political meisters on Capitol Hill. I think Donald Trump is going to be someone, given that it's in his interest, to really negotiate hard, try to get some legislation through in the coming months.
One last question for you, Daniel. The president's approval ratings are falling by at least 8 percentage points, depending on the category you look at, comparing his first 20 days to the last 20 days. What is it that Trump supporters do not like about his work so far?
Trump supporters themselves, 96% of them say they do not regret the decision to put the X in the box on the ballot box under Donald Trump. That is a remarkable metric. Having said that, a lot of the rest of the country, some independents who are on the fence, and obviously the majority of Democrats, are virulently opposed to the president, see the dysfunction that's taken place and have decided that they don't approve of this presidency. But this is an unconventional man, so here is an unconventional metric. In the first 100 days, President Trump exceeds all the three other predecessors by a margin in the number of golfing days. He's had 19, compared with Obama and George W. Bush's 0, and President Clinton's 3. That tells you that those people who support him like his unconventional nature. They like the fact that he's disrupted Washington. They will continue to support him. But the rub, as I say, rests with the tax cuts. If he's able to sort of generate this heat and bring people on board on the economy, it's the economy stupid. But there is a lot of risk ahead. He has to work incredibly hard, intensely, with the US Congress to get what he wants and to get a package that will also be sustainable for the future, given that potentially what he's asking for here is a major spending spree without any requisite change in the deficit numbers that could potentially balloon the deficit. I think there's going to be a lot of negotiations ahead, but I think it comes down to the economy.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. It's probably the first time we've ever used golfing days as a performance metric on this program. Thank you for that. At Daniel Rangers, of course, live in Washington, D.C. Quick